Spider-Man has been a loved character since its debut in August of 1962. Fans all over the world have watched the movies or have read the comic books. This is why it was such a shock to see that Disney and Sony could not come together and make a deal. The underlying problem was at hand is that Sony and Disney are in a disagreement over producer credits and character licenses. This also breaks down to money, and a lot of it. Disney asked Sony that the future of Spider-Man films be a 50-50 co-financing arrangement. This means that both studios will pay 50-50 to help produce more films and etc. Sony did not want to do the 50-50 split and to leave things the way they were. Sony then proposed keeping the current arrangement where Marvel receives 5% of first dollar gross. Disney did not want to agree on that. Just like in any negotiation, there are underlying interests of both parties. This is what it breaks down to. Disney, they want to keep making movies and keep in the MCU. They wanted to keep the same actor and use characters in other Marvel movies. Creative control, producing scripts, and the storyline. Sony has the licensing to Spider-Man. They produced both movies, Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home. They have the video game as well. Both parties had a lot of position on certain things. Here's what they each had. Disney had creative control, producing scripts and storyline of the movies. Sony has the licensing to Spider-Man, contract before Disney for licensing. In class, we learned about a lot of different concepts. The first one that played a role in this case was the bottom line. The bottom line with both companies was and is the ability to make more money for both companies, make more movies, and to make more video games. This is what's best way for both parties to look at a situation in hand. Both Disney and Sony were only looking out for how much money they were going to make out of the deal and not what would benefit the fans. Negative emotions. In this case, neither party wanted to respect each other's status. They wanted to be the ones to make the most money off the character as possible. Even though they did not create a connection to the character, they did not give each other autonomy. I believe in the negotiation, Disney had their mindset on doing a 50-50 split in cost and did not want to budge and didn't want to give Sony the chance to stay involved. That is where it went wrong. There was no wriggle room for Sony and they left the table. It is also said that Disney was demanding the 50-50 instead of asking Sony what they thought. Mediation. Sony and Disney set to make an agreement and it never worked. If they would have chosen to go through mediation, it could have worked out better for both parties and it would have gotten as ugly as it did. Mediation is sometimes the better way to go since this is a big deal. In any negotiation, there are things that go really well. In this case, Disney and Sony listened to the fans as well as the actor of Spider-Man, Tom Holland, to reach an agreement. They realized that the partnership for one more Spider movie would bring money to both parties. Disney could use Spider-Man in another MCU movie such as Avengers. In any negotiation, there are things that go completely wrong. In this case, neither party wanted to give a little to the other. Sony walked away from the table and said that the previous agreement was null and void. We have an agreement. To confirm, we have an agreement with both parties. There was a win-win situation. The current agreement is not for long term. It is in terms of one standalone and one ensemble movie. This does bring up that they can come together to the table again and renegotiate for either a 50-50 split or another few movies. In this, they have already had a long-term, meaningful relationship. Their relationship has been since April of 2015. Thank you for listening to me break down this negotiation between Sony and Disney.